On the program, I'm not falling for it like the rest of the woefully weak media. The Greens, they play victim in the Benjamin Doyle scandal, pulling the death threat card to close it down. But is Doyle fit to be an MP with such highly questionable and objectionable material to his name? Children's images, sexually explicit language. He's disappeared at the Greens' insistence, and sure, diversity, blah, blah, but in whose world is this okay? So we'll look at this, and thank goodness then for Ben O'Keefe, 36, one of the world's best rugby referees on sideline behaviour, and a decent, nice guy. He joins me shortly. Let's go.
Are we paying these people to front up, or are we paying them to fly to Wellington to eat their lunch? Should you really lose your career for refusing to take part in a 90-minute lesson about Māori culture? This government doesn't actually have any idea how to get economic growth. Show us what you made of, Prime Minister.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan, Garner.
Okay, so welcome to the program. You're with the Editor-in-Chief. Good evening, everybody. I'm Duncan, Garner. So please subscribe as well. That's what we want to do. Kick off things with a subscription. It always helps us stay around. Shortly, the world's nicest guy is surely Ben O'Keefe, 36 years of age, the country's top rugby referee. He's refereed more first-class games than anyone else in our history. He also happens to be one of the world's best referees as well. But it's sideline behaviour that we'll focus on today. And he says he gets nervous before even college games because the crowd is close and he hears a few things and, well, he doesn't want it to get to him. But there's more we can do on the sideline to promote good behaviour, so we'll have a chat to him shortly. And the treatment of Benjamin Doyle, Green MP, with the highly questionable past on social media. Tonight I'll show you how deftly the Greens played victim to get the soft, weak media coverage on side. It wasn't that hard, so let's go.
It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, folks, check him out. This is him. His name is Benjamin Doyle, the Green MP who has disappeared from Parliament, sent packing by his leadership to shut down a story that many will find a bit icky, unacceptable, odd, weird, and unbecoming perhaps of anyone, let alone an MP. It's just a bit icky. And surely we've got better things to talk about anyway. It all started a few days back when Mr Peters, in a social media post, said the media needed to start asking serious questions about one of Doyle's social media accounts, which is Bible Belt Bussy. Now, what the name really means in the posts, some of which have been apparently been deleted. Now, the term bussy is used by members of rainbow communities and refers to a man's anus. Doyle had posted a series of messages and images on a private account before he became an MP, including an image of their child. Now, rather than being held to account and explaining it, and how on earth he's appropriate to be a Green List MP, the Greens have, meanwhile, played this really manipulative and masterful game here, turning around the story to play victim, to be the poor little helpless people on the end of some unfair treatment, if you like, including so-called death threats which have come at this guy. Now, it's from the old political playbook, claiming death threats, claiming issues around mental health, and then the media pack themselves. See, they run a mile. You run the woe is me angle, and you've gone from defending the indefensible to defending the poorly maligned victim. That's Benjamin Doyle. So the media basically shat themselves and went with what the Greens wanted. The Greens came up with a strategy, and the media fell right into line with it. Here's co-leader Chloe Swarbrick.
The word bussy, what is the definition of that?
Honestly, I'm just not really that interested in getting into oversimplified definitions of terms like that.
But the public are interested in knowing the definition, so why don't you provide it to them?
And what I can say to you, Mikey, is that what we're talking about here is terminology where context is incredibly important.
So
there are
explain
many members.
the context.
Yeah, the context is that members of the rainbow community oftentimes use terminology which could be considered to be outrageous.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Now she justifies the use of the word bussy, meaning, well, it means anus. By saying the term bussy, she says it's been co-opted by rainbow communities, you see. So it's quite brilliant from her. It's absolutely brilliant from her because she's now not having to defend it, she's just explaining it. And suddenly the story is about Winston Peters for raising it in the first place and how that has led to death threats. Listen to Malama Davidson.
We are calling on the Prime Minister to take responsibility for the behaviour of his coalition colleague. We are deeply concerned that the Deputy Prime Minister has doubled down on disinformation and is actively fanning flames of hatred towards the beautiful rainbow community. This isn't the standard politicking by the Deputy Prime Minister. This isn't a game of who's winning this round of clickbait.
Brilliant again. Push it back onto Peters like he's somehow now the centre of the story and responsible and has to defend himself. The truth is Doyle took down 52 private posts. Why? And is this acceptable for a man who's now an MP? The Greens know that these posts involving the term bussy and a child in the sexually explicit language, they know they're embarrassing. And they're deeply confronting to many, many Kiwis. Most Kiwis, they don't like this sort of stuff. And so it's why they decided that attack was the best form of defence. And the media fell for it hook, line and sinker. The Greens still have much to answer here, in my view. Who's the real Benjamin Doyle, and is he the right person to have in Parliament? How did he get through the Greens election process? What due diligence did they do on him? And did they do it and clear it and think it was okay? And have they once again stuffed this up? The Greens have lurched from crises to crises for 18 months through poor decision-making, having the wrong people in the job, and quite frankly, they have looked like a mess and unelectable for some time. Now this cloud over Benjamin Doyle's head once again threatens the party. It's why Davidson and Swarbrick decided to front foot this by attacking everybody else. You know, those making the allegations, those running with them. And it was everybody else's fault. But then there's Benjamin Doyle. And what responsibility must he take in the Greens? Hence the media have sailed on right the way through it, sailed on past the original story, and it's now about Winston Peters being somehow responsible for some serious death threats. The Greens scripted it the way that the Greens wanted it, and the media swallowed it hook, line and sinker. Death threats are rightly unacceptable. Me personally, I've had a number of them. We simply put them into the hands of the police. I wasn't kept away from work. I didn't go into hiding. I carried on, showed my face and got on with it. Most death threats are made by idiots who have neither the means or the ways to carry it out. The Greens on this occasion rolled the dice to see what they could get away with. It turns out the roll of the dice worked. The weak media fell in behind the left, and given the Greens privately knew they couldn't defend Doyle, they sent him away to hide under a rock and slowly feed the media the line that they were the victims here. Thing is, Doyle can't hide forever. And what I learned about Parliament is you simply have to front at some stage. The media will find you at some stage. They'll finally ask the right question. It's proof that you can run, and you can try and tidy up old social media posts and delete them, but you can never truly hide from who you are and what you did and what you said. And D-Day is always coming at you. In Benjamin Doyle's case, it goes like this. With the real Benjamin Doyle, please stand up.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, so Ben O'Keefe is the world's best rugby referee, or he's one of them anyway, the most capped referee in New Zealand, and such a decent man who is concerned about sideline behaviour and how we need to get it right. He's joining a campaign to convince all of us that we need to be better on the sidelines and leave the footy to the referee and to the players playing it. Ben, lovely to see you, mate. G'day.
Thank you, mate. Thanks. Awesome being here.
Yeah. Hey, so the sideline behaviour, you signed up to be an ambassador, and good on you for that, because you would see good and bad behaviour from where you are on the field, right?
Yeah, look, I'm really privileged. I get to see a lot of really amazing rugby games and sport games for the position I'm in. But I want to sign up to be part of Active to just raise awareness of just positive sideline behaviour that we need to continue, especially within New Zealand, especially in Auckland. So that's what I'm really keen to get behind. And I think we've got a bit to do in New Zealand around supporting good sideline behaviour.
Yeah, we get pretty passionate. I mean, I look at myself. I get pretty invested. Although a good move I make is to go down the end of the field and park myself with the team behind the post. So that's always a sort of a neutral position. But you do see some people with their hearts on their sleeve just a bit too much, eh? Yeah,
look, I mean, I love passion. I'm passionate as well when I watch games. I love rugby. I love all types of sport. But it's just finding what is that line where that passion is just sort of overstepping that mark, and whether it's the messages that you're throwing at the referee or the messages that you're throwing at your own child of the opposition on the sideline. I think that's just where we need to sort of be a little bit more aware, rein it in, and put it in a better direction.
Yeah. So what's your advice then? Because do you hear the abuse that referees get at your level? Probably not, but at that sort of other level, which is all volunteers, they don't know the game like you do. They're probably going to get abused because they're missing things and that sort of. But it's not their fault either. It's a tough one, eh?
Yeah, look, I mean, I miss things, and I'm one of the top referees in the world. And it happens, and it's my job to be able to do that. So I think I do see a lot. I don't really hear it in the games I'm doing. Obviously, I'm all mic'd up and got things in my ear, and there's these big crowds. But when you're on those sidelines in those community games, where I have been on the sideline for, and even when I have refereed those games, you can hear a lot, and it does really affect you. You're just a normal person out there trying to do a really good job, and I think people on the sideline, if they understand that this referee out there is firstly a volunteer, and they could be any age. They could be an adult or they could be a child just out there trying to give back to the community. Their job isn't to be perfect. They're actually just trying to facilitate a game between your children or between your mates, your friends, and that's what it should be about. So I also laugh because a lot of the potential abuse that comes from the sidelines about whether there's a forward pass or an offside is coming from 30 metres away on an angle. So you're not even in the right position to be able to see it. But I think it's just really good awareness around, okay, what can be done to actually create a whole positive environment? The referee's trying to do it on the field. The players are trying to do it by playing a really good game. But what can we do on the sideline be able to add to that spectacle as well.
I think nominating a couple of sort of heroes on the sideline from your supporters group, now maybe they're in high-vis vest or something, but just a couple of people that can take responsibility for your side, so then loudmouths are answering to their own parents, and that might be a way to sort of keep things in check.
Yeah, I think it's not about like going hard back at that person or that group about what they're saying. I think it is important that there is some sort of leadership icon in each group. So whether there's one for that field or, even, the coach of the team, they just have someone that's aware of it and they can just have a quiet word to that person so that, it doesn't continue, because we're not going to be able to stamp it out on that day. It's going to take a little bit of time. So, constant reminders of what is positive behavior, what is positive language, what is good passion. I think we can do that, then we know the limit.
There's so much on the line, though, isn't there, in some of these? And I know you do the odd first 15 game as well at the Auckland schoolboy level. There's just so much invested, and it's just a test match every weekend sort of thing for their test match, and parents are so invested, and it doesn't take much for it to boil over, right?
Yeah, I agree, and I totally agree with you, Duncan. Like, it is important for that person, that individual. They're season defining. They want to score tries, they want to win games, and that's what I love about it. That passion. It's the same thing at the top level all the way down to grassroots. So I think the importance of it means that we need to be important around and know the importance of how we support our children, so that they want to come back next year. They actually want to play really well next week, and I think a lot of that is what we're trying to do. Or the campaign with Active is trying to just show that if you support positively on the sideline, really good language, really good actions, then our children and our kids, our friends, they're going to want to keep playing, and they're going to keep like that whole story of Kiwis wanting to be part of sport and loving sport.
It's true, though, isn't it? Because the kids can be embarrassed of their parents who are, going overboard on the sideline. So just bite your tongue or whatever, or still be passionate, but do it in a decent way so your kids aren't embarrassed. Your kids want to come back next year because they hear you, they see you, they're small, and they're looking up at these big monsters who are making all the noise, and they get a bit embarrassed too.
Yeah, they do. Like, I mean, it's not us playing. Like, we've had our chance, so we missed kids' opportunity. So, I just think, it's just one of those things. It's just raising that awareness. And sometimes, the unhelpful thing is that they see a lot of maybe the passion going over the line on TV, professional sports, and social media, making the headlines. They feel like, it's okay to do it in grassroots here in Auckland. And I think that's just that's something we need to push away from. Like, it's very, very different, very separate.
Yeah, we were involved in a Ponsonby team a couple of years ago that had a couple of games cancelled during the year because, there was a couple of head-high tackles, I think, and parents from the other side, I won't say what club because it's not fair, they raced on and took a swing at one of our players, and then the game was immediately called off. So you're hurting the players because when the game's called off, there's no result, and all the effort the boys have gone into all week to get there, it's lost,
Yeah, I mean, you're hurting the players, you're hurting the game because, some of those players are going to be like, I'm not going to come back and play this next year.
Yeah.
A referee that's abused, who's just is young or just trying to, give back to the game. Well, they go, you know what? I'm not going to give up my weekend to be able to come and do this. So therefore, that's what's happening now. We have a lack of referees at lower levels, and if our players want to enjoy the game as well, you want good quality referees to be able to referee the game so that it's fair. So there's just all these ways that they interlink and interlock into needing for our community.
I've noticed that the lack of referees. Referees used to be dime a dozen. I remember back in North Harbour days when I was around, and as you say, we were having our chance. But now I look at it, and last year I met a couple of referees who were in their late 70s, who'd some of the old timers that you'll know. And I thought they were remarkable. I mean, just to keep up with it, these are 70-year-old men keeping up with these 14-year-old boys. That says to me that maybe there has been too much abuse. Maybe it's not worth it for referees, and they've said, no, bugger it, I'm not going to put up with this. So you want to be good. You want to be on your best behaviour because referees won't come back.
Well, that's the big thing. We need referees, and obviously I'm passionate about referees, with my background. But we want referees to be part of the game so that the game can continue. And yes, we get a lot of older referees who are involved in the game, but there's a pathway there for players, but also there's a pathway there for referees now too. And if you get really good experience either as a player and you want to start off young refereeing, then there's a really good pathway there to be able to, grow, and you learn so much whether you go on to be a professional referee or not, that you can, take into schooling, take into work. But the problem is if those referees are getting blocked because they're getting abused on the sideline, it's just something we want to, really discourage because, it doesn't really help the game at all. And look, we've all been there where we've disagreed with a call, but it's just the way that you voice that.
You got to suck it up, eh? I mean, I know it's hard to do, but sometimes, I mean, chatting back and having to go to the referee, it doesn't get you anywhere. In fact, it's likely that you could get marched from the ground yourself from watching the game, because you have the ability to do that. You're probably reluctant to do that, though. But you know, at the end of the day, arguing with the referee, my father always said to me, "We'll get you nowhere," despite the fact I did it a number of times. You know?
Look, I've done over 200 games, and I've never changed my decision based on a player that said something to me. Even I was umpiring squash the other night, and the two players were having a go at some of my decision. I was like, I never have this on the rugby field. I'm not going to sit on the squash court. So it's just one of those things. Like, we're just out there to make do our best, just like the players, but trying to do their best as well. So if we can just keep positive, I think it's the main thing. It's
also one of these games too, and increasingly so. The rules change every year. So are the people yelling from the sideline, are they even up with the latest rule book? Because I bet you they're not. And it's a game of interpretation in many ways for the referee, and so the crowd, they're likely to be wrong. That's the other thing. They're likely to be 100% wrong. You know,
it's the beauty. It's the beauty of our sport. Like, we can't just go and send a robot out there to referee the games, because if they did, we'd have about 400 penalties in one game, and no one wants to watch that. So it is a game of interpretation. There's a bit of art involved, and I'm not speaking just for rugby. It's any sport that involves an umpire. So as long as that umpire referee is going out there with the mindset, look, I want to create an environment which is fair, that showcases the talents of the players, then what else could you want? Like, yes, there might be some errors involved, but that's ultimately that you want at the end of the day. And if people can walk away, and we always say, look, if they don't notice the referee, they don't notice the umpire, that's a bonus. But I always say that if they walk away and go, wow, that was a great game, I think the referee's done a good job. You know,
I saw one of those games of the weekend. We had a game, our boys under 15s at Mags, and I said to the ref afterwards, well played, mate, because I didn't even notice. I thought you did a really good job. I always make a point of saying that to the ref, because I think it's important, because at the end of the game, you get two teams, they all go to their huddles, and then they shake hands and everything. And the ref, after all that effort, has sort of left to be on his own a bit. So I always make a point of it, because I think I respect referees, and I just always make the point of pointing out the good stuff that they did, because I think it's really important to give them feedback.
And you know what? Like, you brought up a really funny, something that happens after every game. Like, when we blow the final whistle, it is that little bit of awkward kind of, I just walk off as the referee. Like, everyone's shaking hands and they've had a great game. So I always find that quite funny. I go to my assistant referee, shake their hand and walk off. But I reckon, and this is would be a really good advice to anyone within the community in Auckland, like, go and thank that referee after the game, just like you would thank your players, because that would stick with that referee. What you did in the weekend, I'm sure that referee, that would stick with them. They would feel really good about themselves, and you never know, that might make them want to come back the weekend after. It really has a good impact. And I know that when people have thanked me after a game, no matter what level, it really has a good impact. It makes a lot.
Maybe it's guilt as well after years of throwing a bit of stick. So maybe it's that too. You were at the World Cup. I'm just trying to remember. You got it was controversial, wasn't it? You had to get. Did you get? You got stick. What was the game? What was the game where you got taken?
Oh, you can pick many games, but I did. So like the deeper you go into a tournament, the more high profile the games are. There's always going to be controversy, people's talking points. One team's got to lose. So at the last World Cup, obviously refereed France versus South Africa in the quarterfinal, tight 1 point game, and then went on to the semi-final as well. Tight. I think it was 1 point game as well. So you always get your reviews and the pundits with a fine-tooth comb going through the decisions after that. So but that happened after that World Cup, and and it will continue, I'm sure, just as the games get sort of tighter and more dynamic and exciting.
You just got to be professional and just sort of walk through it. I find in this game, because this is sort of similar, really, where you get a lot of stick, from what you do. And I don't. After all these years, I don't actually hear the noise. I don't hear the noise. I can choose to go and read it if I want to, but I mean, the keyboard warriors are a dime a dozen, so I choose not to really ingratiate myself with this stuff. So who cares?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, I care a lot for sure. I know you do as well. It's just around. I filter the information that I'm getting from the right type of people, and with the support around me, I work out. Okay, I'll review that. I'll review a game as detailed as I normally will. And there'll be things that will come out of that I'll be like, cool, okay, that's something I need to be better at next time. Well, that was an error. Well, this is going to make me grow and be better as a referee in my next game. And that's how you keep developing as a referee. If I just sat back and listened to every keyboard warrior and what they thought about how I refereed, then I'll be changing my style every week.
Yes.
And there'd be no consistency, there'd be nothing at all, and I wouldn't be able to grow. So,
well, you can't listen to the last person. I mean, if you keep listening to the last person, I was watching you in the weekend actually, and it's a bloody complicated game, mate. It's a quick game. I think it's a better game this year. It's I don't know if it's easier or not to referee, but you've got to be quick, man. You can those tries that you're awarding. And some of them are really contested because these guys are so athletic now. They're under the ball and they're trying to stop them scoring. It's so hard for you to see this thing. You guys are on all fours trying to award the try, eh?
yeah. The skills of the players have been amazing, and like they're getting bigger, they're faster. And I think Super Rugby this year has been fantastic. I don't think we've ever had a season, that I've been involved where it's been like this. And it's not getting easier because the game's getting tighter. You get a lot of games over the last few years where by the 60th minute, there's no more scoreboard pressure, one team's sort of won. But now you've got both the Kiwi teams, the Australian teams, they're hitting it out for the whole 80 minutes. And I actually did I had a quick chat with my assistant referees as we were leaving the game over the weekend. And we looked at the tally of my last 6 games, and every game has been within like 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 4 points.
Yeah.
So that brings you into the whole 80 minutes. So, there's a lot of pressure there. But those assistant referees, I thank them because some of those tries, like I'm on all fours, but I can't see it. But then I can call from them, they've been in the right position, and that's just the teamwork which helps.
Do you ever feel the pressure of a crowd?
No, I don't. I've trained myself not to. As soon as I hear, for example, the anthems at a big test match, I then blow my whistle to kick the game off, and I'm just so focused in the game. And I'll be at a ground, 80,000 people at Twickenham, and you just don't hear it. You can feel buzz, but you just don't hear it because you're just so focused on what's the right decision, trying to stay a second ahead. What's this team trying to do? And you just do that for the 80 minutes. I feel like, when you're refereeing, so you're right, I come back and I'll try and do at least one club game or a first 15 game when I'm available here in Auckland or North Harbour. You hear everything there. And I find it really hard. That's distracting. And that's why, again, I'm, fronting this campaign because, if I'm someone that's got so much experience and, I can hear the people in the corner yelling at me about a forward pass. It's difficult sometimes.
It's almost more pressure at those low level games, but as you say, because there won't be as many. There's not 80,000 people there. There might be 1,000, and there's some pretty loud characters, and it's so they're so passionate and invested in that schoolboy rugby. You are gonna cop it at those games, eh?
Yeah, and look, part of it is what I love. I love the atmosphere of those games. I love turning up. You're changing in a classroom beforehand because it's on the front field of the first team. And it really takes you back to why I love rugby and the grassroots and I enjoy it. But I certainly feel more pressure because it's just the expectation they have. You want to do a good game. Sometimes those games aren't because they're not as structured as professional rugby players. The players are sort of running in and diving everywhere. You've got to really try and referee what's in front of you. Yeah. But certainly the skill of the kids that I'm seeing these days is fantastic. So as long as that's backed up by what's happening on the sideline.
I think people are largely pretty good. There's always going to be the odd nutter, but people, I think, I go back to the 80s and 90s and think, it's a pretty rough days, back then, and what was acceptable in rugby, scraps and look at 81 and all that sort of stuff. But you look now, and I think people are pretty good.
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct. I'm going on about positive sideline behaviour and everything that we want to try and change, but it's only the 1 or 2 people that are ruining it, and that's what's like online. It's only 1 or 2 people that are ruining it. Yeah, it's only 1 or 2 people that are ruining it on the sidelines in the community as well. So the majority are showing really good behaviour.
God, I know you're a busy man, so I'll let you go. But I was at a Counties game. I must have been a young fella. My uncle was playing for Counties, so we'd all often go and watch him. And we're on the bank there. And I remember turning around and seeing one bloody thug walking down and smacking a guy further down the hill there. And the bear went flying and everything. And the old man said, "Oh, don't worry about that, mate. Look at the game." But that's the sort of stuff. That's very 80s. The cops came and took him away. You don't see a lot of that stuff now. She was pretty agricultural back late 80s.
Oh, I love hearing stories like that. It's I'm not condoning it at all, but you do hear back in the day, just some good stories. But I think the change in rugby is we're sort of moving that to seeing really good, because if you look at the style of the game back then, it was totally different, right? Yeah. Where the game right now is, it's dynamic, it's fast, there's skills. So sort of moved to just enjoying that now, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I love those stories.
I think there was a lot more alcohol involved back then too. I mean, I look at it, we had kegs and change rooms and kangaroo court and all that sort of stuff. And now I look at the first 15 and all the young boys, and they're dedicated to their device and their highlights reel, but not so much getting a keg and going back to your mate's place. So that's a good thing, I reckon. That's a good thing. They're invested in it more.
Well, I mean, like rugby's become very much professional in New Zealand now, hasn't it? And potentially at the detriment to club rugby, where players have gone. Normally it was you play club rugby,
yep,
and then your best club rugby players would then go and play reps, and then on to like NPC. Where now it's almost go from first 15 to Super Rugby, isn't it? So.
Well, you go from first 15 to those junior Auckland sides or whatever sides, those under 18s and 20s, and if you're not there by then, it's you have to be pretty spectacular to be picked up.
Well, I mean, because you're an old player now. If you're above 25, 26, 27, which is crazy. Like I'm terribly old at 36 as a referee now.
I'm 51, mate. I think the horse is bolted. Hey, Ben, nice to chat, mate. Nice to catch up and say good day, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Duncan. Enjoyed that. Cheers.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Yeah, okay. I'll just bring in Christchurch producer Isaac here, mate. Wasn't he? He's such a nice guy. I think I've got
No, he's a great guy.
Can I have a man crush, boy crush? Is it possible?
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah, no, but 36. He's refereed more first class games, 230, 40 games. It's astonishing, eh?
Yeah, it's incredible. And I mean, he's obviously great at what he does. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done that many games, Yeah. And so to see the guy, he's just walking around so humbly and just chatting with you, it's great.
It's true about sideline behaviour, though. Eh? I mean, I'm a bit guilty at times, so I need to pull my head in. But I don't see much bad stuff anymore. But I mean, I know it's out there. I know it only takes time to turn up to a thuggish sort of guy, and it's all it's all on, isn't it? So.
Yeah, and it's a real shame as well because it's more often than not, I'd say it's parents as well compared to kids or to young guys, you know what I mean? Which is a real shame. And it's just it's league of 9-year-olds and they're playing, and it's just some mum or dad on the sideline just hurling abuse because little Timmy maybe got hit a little bit too hard.
I know.
Or I don't know. Little Timmy should have scored a goal back then or scored a try back then.
It's not
whatever
the World
it is.
Cup, mate.
And it's just it's a little bit ridiculous. Eh?
Well said. Give it some perspective, eh? Give us some perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the World Cup. Anyway, lovely guy. Okay, letters to the editor. We've got letters there. We've got also social media posts. We've had a number of letters too that I haven't read out because they're not asking for us to investigate something and so forth. So I've got those letters and I'll be in touch with you privately. First one out of here. Hi, Duncan. As someone who considers myself centrist, I feel like I'm losing touch with the mainstream media and enjoy your take on things and wondering what I'm missing in the Doyle controversy. At face value, they posted a sexually explicit tagline on a social media post with a child. Also another picture of a child with an eggplant emoji next to it. Yet mainstream media seem to think the story is about death threats and Peter's bullying. I'm not homophobic but can't understand why no mainstream media is concerned about this. The level of silence has meant only right-wing voices are engaging, and so it fits into the witch hunt narrative. Also, hoping you may be willing to ask some questions about this. Yeah, well, we just have, haven't we? That's exactly what I've pointed out tonight. So interesting time with your letter, but yeah, I've got serious questions how the media ran the story, and Greens turned it around brilliantly, as I've said numerous times tonight. The Greens have turned this around into almost their favour. Which is, do you have a view of the way the Greens are very highly skilled, weren't they? What they did, Isaac?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't really been over this story as much as I probably should be or would have liked to be for my job. I mean, yeah, from what I've heard, it's a little bit of a media masterclass, like you say.
It certainly
is.
It
almost seems like they've turned their hole into a mountain somehow. So very interesting.
Yeah, and using language that a certain set groups only understand. What about the supermarkets? What are they saying? Supermarkets, Isaac?
Yes, a couple of comments here from your YouTube. This one here from Robin Falconer 9969. It's gross and disgusting. Not much faith in Nicola Willis either. Bloody outrageous.
Yeah, this is the way they charge for the space in the supermarkets. And I spoke to someone last night. Someone rang me last night, and they said they've been doing it for 20 years, but the charging has just got through the roof now. And my source texted me as well overnight and said, "You're bang on." It's exactly what it is. So there's another one there as well.
Interesting. One here from Big Boy 0625. I've travelled to over 20 countries, and New Zealand has to be by far the most expensive and poorest quality by far. It's so expensive, people that have never left New Zealand to travel to Europe will be blown away. Also, the The fast food in New Zealand is so high, the shops would rather bin stuff than sell it off cheap if the date is too close to expire.
Yeah.
Greed is really a thing with the CEOs.
Yeah, I reckon I've got so many emails, maybe 400 or 500 texts and emails and messages like that. We are a small country with a small economy. We only got two players, and they don't really compete, and therefore we're the losers. There's nothing more we can say. We need another 5 million people, another 3 operators. You know, the bigger the economy, the bigger economies of scale, I think, is the answer.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, that's us. Thank you, folks. Isaac, thanks, mate. We'll thank you for your support and your feedback. Please subscribe. Keep the subscriptions coming. I wouldn't mind getting to 20,000. 20,000 would be a good target, wouldn't it? We're at 17.5 or something. So let's get to 20,000 by the end of April. We're at the beginning of April. So 2,500 subscribers in a month.
Yeah, let's do it.
Surely it's achievable. If we get there by the 15th of April, I'll whack out another 50 press-ups.
Another 50?
Yeah. So I'll do, if we get 2,500 by 15th of April, I'll do 50. But if we get there by the end of the month, nothing. No, I'm not giving you anything. Okay? But 50 was hard. 50's hard, bro. Anyway, get in touch, folks, through our social media at Duncan Garner Podcast on TikTok and Instagram, or flick us an email, duncan@rover.nz. To my team, Isaac, thank you, mate. And Lockie, Willie, yeah. Thank you, guys. We'll do it again tomorrow. Remember, life is no dress rehearsal. There's no curtain raiser. This is the one we live in, so this is it. We still live in one of the best places on earth. Despite all the things happening around us, you know it's paradise. So get out there and enjoy it. Have a great day. Take care, New Zealand. Ta-da.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.